is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s angry statement on the 10 million peso reward against Pastor Apollo Sikibloy only shows his true colors, according to the legal counsel of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Instead of apprehending Marcos Jr. in tolerating DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos' irresponsible acceptance of the bounty donated by so-called friends. Meanwhile, Davao City Mayor Baste is open to the idea of running for the Senate in the upcoming 2025 midterm election. The mayor stressed that the current negative state of the politics in the country is one of the reasons he is considering running for senator. In other news, Sator Ocampo and Franz Castro guilty of child abuse. This is after a court ruled they illegally transported indigenous youth from Davao del Norte to Davao de Oro. For our top global stories, assassination attempt against former U.S. President Donald Trump, a result of Secret Service failure. Trump's security faces questions on how a sniper was able to obtain rooftop access during the rally. And the warring factors in Sudan met in Geneva to resume ceasefire talks. I am Chris Aclo. Newsline World starts now. According to the KOJC legal counsel, Police Regional Office 11 Director Brigadier General Nicholas Torre is lying after denying receiving calls or texts from attorney Israelito Torian. This pertains to the arrest of Pastor Apollo Sikibloy, co-accused Pauline Canada. Let's hear more from Jason Rubico.
In a press conference, Police Regional Office 11 Director Brigadier General Nicholas Torre insisted that he did not receive any calls or texts from the legal counsel of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, Attorney Israelito Torion. This statement followed the police arrest of Pastor Apollo Sikibloy's co-accused Pauline Canada in a subdivision in Davao City on June 11. Torion stressed that Torre was lying, asserting that as Pauline Canada's lawyer, he immediately contacted the official upon learning of her arrest.
That is a lie. That is a lie because andito naman yung mga text messages dito eh. Hindi naman siguro po pwede na i-deny niya ito, no? Siguro sasabihin siguro natin na technique lang niya yon para matanong pa niya ng marami si Ma'am Pauline na walang abogado, pero alam niya, being a general, na bawal po yun because Republic Act 7438 Section 2 in relation with Section 4 mandates that all persons arrested or detained shall at all times be assisted by counsel. At all times,
To recall, Torres' personnel initially denied that Canada was arrested and was taken to Camp Katitipan. However, the PNP retracted the statement after a video surfaced showing Canada's arrest. Around 11 p.m., other media outlets reported that Canada was detained at Buhangin Police Station. But when the KOJC legal counsel arrived, they found out that Canada was never detained there. Torion later received information that Canada had been transferred to Camp Crame in Quezon City. Torion emphasized that the PNP violated Miranda rights when they arrested Canada and transported her to Camp Crame without giving her a chance to speak with her lawyer.
Actually, there is a violation because at all times nga she should have been assisted by counsel. Sanda, nandun ako, kasama ako dun. Ang nangyari kasi, they subjected my client to an investigation without counsel. Alam mo, kung basahin nyo yung batas, bawal yun. Nakakapreso yun. 8 years to 10 years imprisonment yun. At saka yung isang violation yun, 4 years to 6 years yung imprisonment dun. At may administrative liabilities pa. Perpetual disqualification to hold public office.
The following day, Torion traveled to Camp Crame and spoke with Canada personally. He revealed that no one wanted to accept the accused into custody because authorities admitted that there were irregularities in her arrest.
Yung pagdating kasi ni Ma'am Pauline doon, walang magtanggap sa kanya. Walang magtanggap. Kasi sa first night niya, sa hotel siya napatulog. ni General Torre. Wala daw magtanggap sa kanila kasi admitted nila na parang may irregularity talaga doon sa pag-arrest niya at saka pa hindi pag-recognize na aking tawag, text message kasi.
According to Attorney Torion, it is up to Canada whether she will file charges against the authorities who arrested her. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rupico, SM9 News.
Davao City Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte is not ruling out the possibilities of running for the Senate alongside his father and older brother. Here's the report with Hannah Jane Sancho.
Nakabalo ba ko ang kambyuhan sa...
Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte granted an interview to reporters based in Davao City. During the meet and greet, the media asked Mayor Baste about various issues concerning the city of Davao and more. Among the topics discussed was Vice President Sara Duterte's recent statement about the possibility of Lee Duterte's running in the upcoming midterm elections.
Lahat sila raring na tumakbo eh. Si PRD senator, yung kuya ko, si Paulo Duterte, yung congressman ngayon, senator, si Sebastian Duterte.
So tatlo ang Duterte next year for senator.
Yes, tatlo ang Duterte next year.
Confirm na ba yan galing sa UVP?
But what are the thoughts of the youngest Duterte and the mayor of Davao City on this matter?
Pero ingon lagi sa ko igsoon, malaga lagi kami tulog senador.
Ito ingon po ni Vice President.
Actually, sa tinuod lagi na-entertain ba yagid pod nako na idea na? Kung tulo may managan?
According to Mayor Baste, the current political climate is one of the factors that he is considering if he decides to run for senator. He added that they have yet to have a formal discussion with their father and siblings regarding their potential senatorial bids. To recall, former President Rodrigo Duterte is one of the leading senatorial candidates for the upcoming 2025 midterm election based on the latest Pulse Asia survey. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SM9 News.
Up next, Senator Ocampo and Franz Castro guilty of child abuse. This is after a court ruled they illegally transported indigenous youth from Davao del Norte to Davao de Oro. More news when Newsline World returns. Senator Ocampo and Franz Castro have been found guilty of child abuse. More details from Hannah Jane Sancho.
Justice is within reach for the indigenous children of Talaingod after ACT Teachers Party's Representative Franz Castro and ex-Bayan Muna Representative Satur Ocampo were found guilty of violating Republic Act 7610, the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act.
So sa araw na ito, nilabas na nga ng RTC Branch 2 yung desisyon nila sa kaso ng Talaingod 18. No? Of course, hindi namin inasahan yung kinalabasan ng desisyon.
The court's decision stems from the trafficking case filed against former Bayan Muna Representative Satur Ocampo, ACT Party List Representative Franz Castro, and others on November 28, 2018, after they were caught transporting minors from the indigenous community of Talaingod, Davao del Norte. Based on the court's 25-page decision, Ocampo and Castro were convicted of child abuse, specifically Section 10A, Article 3 of Republic Act Number 7610, which carries a penalty of 4 to 6 years imprisonment. Aside from Ocampo and Castro, Maria Eugenia Victoria M. Nolasco, Jesus Madamo, Meriro Poquita, Maricel Andagkit, Marshall Rendon, Marian Aga, Genevieve Paraba, Nerhaya Taliedo, Maria Concepcion Ibarra, Nerfa Awing, and Wingwing Daunsay were also convicted. Meanwhile, Pastor Edgar Ugal, Reverend Ryan Magpayo, Elier Ordineza, and Reverend Judy Jaime were acquitted after the prosecution failed to prove their guilt. To recall, Ocampo and Castro claimed that they were on a rescue mission to save teachers and students of Salugpungan School in Talaingod from harassment by tribal leaders and military forces. However, the Regional Trial Court Branch 2 of Tagum City, Davao del Norte found that Ocampo, Castro, and others conspired to exploit 14 indigenous minors. The court stated that the accused had no legal or moral duty to accompany the minors and transport them from Talaingod to Mako using 5 vans. Parents and tribal leaders themselves filed complaints against Ocampo and Castro. They simply wanted the Salugpungan School closed and the teachers removed, but were shocked to discover that the minors had been taken away. In 2018, the Department of Education investigated and ordered the closure of the Salugpungan School. After receiving complaints, it taught students to hate the government. It was also proven that the school had links to the communist terrorist group CPP, NPA, NDF. The court ordered the accused to pay 10,000 pesos in civil indemnity and 10,000 pesos to each minor for moral damages, with 6% interest per year from the date of the decision until full payment. The provincial government of Davao del Norte welcomed the court's decision and that it confirmed that Ocampo and Castro violated the law.
Ibig sabihin ay talagang nagkaroon sila ng violation tungkol doon sa case na gipile against sa kanila. So, dapat lang na pag-serbisyuhan nila yung desisyon na yun at tanggapin nila dahil ginawa naman nila kasi yun, court na ang nag-decide.
The ruling brings hope for other victims of deception, abuse, killings, and exploitation at the hands of the terrorist group CPP, NPA, NDF, as they too may one day see justice served. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNA News, Davao City.
Following the recent guilty verdict from the court in the child abuse case against ACT Teachers Rep. Franz Castro and former Bayan Muna Rep. Satsor Ocampo, indigenous people leaders in Mindanao have shared their reactions. Jade Calabroso reports.
For indigenous people leaders in Mindanao, the day the Regional Trial Court Branch 2 in Tagum City, Davao del Norte issued its verdict against the leftists, including ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro and former Bayan Muna Representative Satur Ocampo, is a day of celebration. They have been found guilty of child abuse or violation of Republic Act 7610, the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. This stems from an incident in 2018 where Castro, Ocampo, and others were observed transporting 14 underage indigenous children from Talaingod, Davao del Norte. The court had dismissed the defendant's defense, claiming that recruiting indigenous youth was part of their educational mission. According to a statement issued by the Mindanao Indigenous Peoples Council of Elders and Leaders and the Mindanao Indigenous Peoples Youth Organization, they believe this victory is not only for indigenous people, but for all Filipinos who believe in democracy.
Magandang umaga po.
In an interview, Datu Alan Kausing, the Ancestral Domain Management Officer in Talaingod, shared that one IP leader was moved to tears and joy because justice has been served.
Perting lipaya sa mga tribal leader, no? So, si Bae Pilar Libayaw, na amo ang IPC, perting lipaya, og tungod sa iyang kalipay, naghilat yun siya tungod sa iyang kalipay nga na-convict na ang duha, nga naghatag og problema sa tribong Atamanobo. Perting lipaya yun, no? Sa mga IPs, sa mga tribal leader, nga nahatagan og hustisya, ang ginawa ng dalawang tao, hindi lang silang dalawang tao, kundi yung mga kasamahan, iba pang mga grupo, nga mga leftist na nabigyan ng hustisya ng kanilang ginawang gulo dito sa amin.
Meanwhile, Datu Alan reiterated the exploitation done by Castro and Ocampo, along with other leftist groups, in taking indigenous youth as tools.
Dito sila kumuha ng mga kabataan through sa kanilang in-establish na paaralan, yung tawag sa Lupungan Tano Kanugon Learning Center. Kinukuha yung mga kabataan dito, tapos dinadala nila sa iba't ibang lugar. Tapos pagkatapos, sir, ma'am, hindi nila pinapaalam sa mga magulang at sa mga IPs, mga underage pa. So maraming mga kabataan ginawa nila nga kinuha nila dito at ipa-transport doon sa ibang lugar para gawin nila nga commander.
Bawan Jake Llanes meanwhile believed that this success would be a strong basis for catching other criminals who hid behind the government and legal front organizations of the CPP and PANDF.
Magiging precedents o merong legal na basihan para habulin at i-unmask, hubaran ng kanilang maskara ang iba pang mga kadre ng CPP na nakatago at nagmamaskara bilang mga human rights defenders.
In the end, Datu Alan is very grateful to the national government, especially to the NTF-LCAC, for their continued assistance to their sector, particularly against the communist terrorist groups.
Nagpapasalamat po kami ng MIPSIL, MIPPIO at national government, particular ng NTF-LCAC sa walang puas o tulong sa amin na para mabigyan ng hustisya ang kanilang ginagawa na panggugulo dito sa ancestral domain ng Atamanobong.
For God of my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
Indonesia recently signed a deal that grants investors up to 190 years of land rights with an aim to lure foreign investments in its new capital. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
Preparations are underway to attract more foreign investors for Indonesia's new capital city, Nusantara. Indonesian President Joko Widodo, better known as Jokowi, recently signed a presidential decree that grants investors certain rights, including land rights of up to 190 years in the Nusantara, Indonesia's future capital. The government will grant investors the right to cultivate the land for 95 years upon approval. The land will be evaluated after 5 years to ensure the rights holder is using it properly and it is still in good condition. Rights holders will be granted an additional 95 years to cultivate the land once they pass the evaluation, giving them a total period of 190 years. The recent scheme intends to attract more foreign investors after the $32 billion mega project encountered construction delays. Rising sea levels and severe congestion due to overpopulation in Jakarta urged the government to enforce the ambitious plan of relocating and building the new capital of Nusantara from scratch in the middle of Borneo's jungle in East Kalimantan province. The government has yet to announce the official inauguration date for the new capital following the construction delays. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
Iran's newly elected president said he wants to balance relations with all countries, but warned the United States it will not bow down to pressure. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
President-elect Masoud Pezeshkian promised Iranians that he would prioritize strengthening relations with other countries and urge Arab countries to use all of its diplomatic resources to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. In an open letter, Pezeshkian made it clear that Iran will not respond to U.S. pressure and expressed his all-out support of the Palestinian resistance, Hamas. The president-elect said the U.S. backing out from the nuclear agreement in 2018 caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage to its economy and untold suffering, especially during the COVID pandemic. He also accused the U.S. administration of escalating hostilities by assassinating General Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in a U.S. drone strike in Iraq in 2020. The 69-year-old looks forward to improving ties with European countries despite a series of ups and downs between the two sides. Meanwhile, the president-elect said Iran values Russia as a strategic ally and pledged to remain committed to enhancing their bilateral relations. Pezeshkian also praised China for consistently standing up with Iran even during challenging times, along with Moscow. The lawmaker, cardiologist, and former health minister will replace President Ibrahim Raisi following a tragic helicopter crash in May. Pezeshkian made his open message to the new world before he will take oath as the 9th president of Iran in August. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
Warring factors in Sudan met in Geneva to resume fragile negotiations for a ceasefire as the ongoing violence puts millions of people in the brink of famine and severe hunger. Carter Muro tells us more.
The talks prevailed despite getting off on a rocky start when one of the delegations failed to show up on the first day. The Sudanese delegations haven't met face-to-face but through representatives. Ceasefire talks resumed as fighting between the Sudanese armed forces and paramilitary rapid support forces entered its 15th month. The ongoing fighting created the world's worst displacement crisis with about 19,000 deaths, 12.7 million people displaced, including 2.2 million refugees and 18 million people suffering from acute hunger, according to latest reports. The on-again, off-again ceasefire talks between the warring factions collapsed at the end of last year, making these latest efforts to stop the raging war more crucial than ever. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Gratero Omor, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. The more you imbibe the Word of God in your life, the more you acquire riches in heaven. And that's all for this edition. For more updates, you may visit sm9newschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my country, I'm Chris Aclo, and this is Newsline World.